Hello, 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 and welcome to the latest installment of And Sarah Appeared. My name is Sarah, and I'm appearing before you today because I'm having a head over heart conversation with myself concerning, is it insecurity or is it unraveling my worth, my wants, my needs, and my desires? You know, God always tells us in the Bible, He'll give you the desires of your heart. And this past Sunday, listening to the sermon in church, it was really, it was eye-opening into understanding the role that we have to play in prayer, with really asking God to reveal to us the desires on His heart that He has concerning us. It's not enough to just pray concerning the desires of our heart. We have to pray, what is God's desires for us? Because God's desires for us start in His heart, and then they go to His head, and then the commandment comes out of His mouth. And so a lot of the times, you know, when you're close to God, and even when you're someone where you're like, you know, very casual with your walk with God, even when you're very casual with your walk with God, it's one of those things where it's like you can feel God when He wants you to feel Him. And I don't know if anyone else has ever experienced it, but I can feel when God is angry, but I can also feel when God is mourning, and I can also feel when God is happy or joyful. I can also feel when God is wanting more of me. I can feel certain emotions of God and interpret them, but I think that just varies in degrees of how important it is for you to get the message across. How important it is for Him to get the message across to you. Because God's always talking to us. He's always speaking to us. He's always giving us information. And if we're not able to constantly hear Him, recognize Him, or see Him, you know, just like in the sermon that I heard this past Sunday, it's probably because you don't know Him in that much of an intimate way. And I totally agree with it. I did not know God for myself. I never knew Him in an intimate way. I never knew God. I was always the one where, even before I went to church, I just did good things because it made me feel good about doing them, until it got to the point where I was taking advantage of myself by not being honest about the fact that I needed to fix insecurity and self-esteem issues. And that way, when I do something good, I do it because I want to do it, not because I'm looking for attention, or because I'm trying to seek validation from places where validation shouldn't even be coming from, you know? I think validation has to come from your understanding of how God views you and what He says about you concerning the promises that He has for you, but also it's a level and a depth of obedience. It's one of those things where, just like, again, referencing the sermon I heard this Sunday, it's one of those things where you do something that is completely, well, here is the parable that was given in the sermon this Sunday. This Sunday, it was a parable about a father who had asked his son to clean their family room because there was toys everywhere. But he didn't say specifically the family room. He just said the back room. And so the son goes straight past the father, and he goes upstairs to his room. And there's a lot of noise, and there's a lot of clinging, and there's, you know, a lot of questionable things that the father is like, was I not clear on the instruction? What is going on? And the father decides to give the son some time. And then after some time has passed, he goes, okay, son, did I not ask you to clean the room? And so he goes upstairs to investigate to see what's going on upstairs. And the son is standing in the middle of his room, His heart is beating with joy. He's happy. He has this big grin on his face, and the entire room is spotless. The entire room is clean. And he's like, okay. And the father quickly pardons his own emotions of dissatisfaction, because when he looks at the reality of things, he sees, oh, got it. I did tell him to do this, and he was obedient. However, I was not referring to this room. I was not referring. He cleaned the room. He did everything that he was supposed to. But it was in the wrong setting, the wrong place. It was the right action, but the wrong instruction. Or the wrong instruction. It was the child believed that he was supposed to clean his room, and there was another room that needed to be cleaned. And that's how it was. That's the best way. That illustration is the best way to describe my experience when it comes to allowing God to clean the rooms, so to speak, of my soul. I believed that I needed to have X, Y, and Z put together and be processed. And in actuality, I did. My entire experience, I needed that experience to be able to open my eyes to how God works and the possibilities of how God works. I needed that experience to open my eyes to see that, yes, obedience is better than sacrifice. But I feel like it was a learning experience for myself, not so much for God, but for myself, just